Welcome to the Love Pod, where inspiration, vision, and real connection come alive. Wherever you are, you belong here.
Welcome to the Love Pod, everyone. I'm your host for today, Nathaniel. I'm so pleased to have a special guest today, Bob McCauley, who is joining us from Michigan. Bob is a 35-year veteran in helping people improve their overall health. He has written an enormous amount of books, very prolific, really passionate and inspiring leader in especially alkalizing waters and chlorella and spirulina. These products I've been using on and off for many years, and I don't think the average person knows that much about them. And I've heard some myths that I'd like to also dive into. But before we get into Bob, I'd love to just invite you to share more about who you are, how you were, guided to this work, and yeah, why do you do what you do? Welcome.
Well, good. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. Always love to get the word out about, as I say, great health, perfect health, the kind of health people just dream about. I'm 68. I feel great. I don't
Wow.
wake up like, oh,
Nice.
I'm not feeling good today. I'm pretty lucky in that regard. But anyway, I started out about 35 years ago in bottled water. I got into the bottled water business. I was living in New York and this is back in the 90s, and it said, "Hey, bottled water is going to be." I was reading the New York Times. Bottled water is going to be huge in the 90s, and really it wasn't that common. People were not into bottled water like they are now. You see it all over the place. There was Evian. There weren't too many brands, so I came back. My father was an expert in water and water quality. He started an engineering company. He used to teach at Michigan State University. Went to MIT. And so I had that expertise. I got an approved well and I started bottling water. And I could see that the kind of the super, I got into Target. Back then you could just walk in and they would take it or they would reject it or whatever, but almost always they would take it. Um, and I was out selling every beverage that on the shelf. I was out selling Coca-Cola. Snapple was
Wow.
huge back then. I was out selling everything because I had the sales track and so but I could see they were kind of they were going to control my business because they, especially when you're dealing with some of these massive corporations, they come in with all their money and their marketing and their people, and they just make deals, and I wasn't part of that. And so I opened a bottled water store and selling bottled water by the gallon. And it was here in Lansing, Michigan. It was the first one ever. It's called the Watershed. And then I just had people keep coming in and talking about health. And I knew from the beginning I had a health product. And that's what was my advantage. All they looked at it as any other kind of commodity. You can have a wine, you have milk, you have this, you whatever, you have tea, Snapple was big, something just to drink. And I said, well, I got a health product. And very few people seem to understand that in my business. So that was where I got my health, my inspiration from. But as people kept coming into the office, my store, they were bringing you know ideas about alkaline ionized water. Never heard of such a thing. A lot of people would have just said, forget it. You're crazy. You can't do this with water, or this sounds stupid. I was really curious, so I got that, and then I found out about chlorella and spirulina from some people. Again, walking in and this, like, I've got a lot of multi-level marketing people. They kept coming in and trying to sell me things, and I became familiar with shower filters. Very important to filter that water you're showering in every day if you're on a well, and then you're pretty lucky, especially you get high quality water. But I'm telling you, the average person, they shower in
Mhm.
municipal water, and you need to at least get the chlorine out. So I take a little shower filter everywhere I travel, everywhere I go. I've got my
Mhm.
shower filter. I got my little pair of pliers. I take off the shower filter, put on or shower
Mhm.
head, put on my filter, and shower in filtered water.
Mhm.
And just started doing that kind of stuff. And so then through the years, people kept, once again, they kept coming in and telling me about what they really were into. One of them was raw fruits and vegetables and sprouting. this woman brought in. Her name was Hiawatha Cromer. She was just like this electricity, this electric woman. And so she came in and started bringing sprouts. And I said, well, why do I want sprouts? And so I got a book on sprouts. And back then, the internet was pretty new in the 90s. So finding it, but I found one online by Howell. Last name is Howell. I think Edward Howell, and about sprouts and why you want enzymes. That's what
Mm.
it's called, enzyme therapy. And so
Mm.
I go, oh, okay, you want sprouts and you want raw foods because of the enzymes in them. The power of it, the feeling of it. And then again through the years. I found out about probiotics. I've been kind of recounting that in a newsletter that I send out every day. Like, how did I get into probiotics? This woman came to me. She had a yeast infection, and I offered her spirulina. Okay. So, well, she had low iron, really low iron. And so I gave her, try this spirulina. Within a week, the iron came right back up to normal. I mean, she had
Mm.
really low iron. And the doctor, it was about 10 days. She went back to the doctor. They tested her again. She's like, hey, your iron level's pretty good now. What do you gave? I gave you some pills for that. And she goes, I never took the pills. I took spirulina, and the doctor was kind of really surprised.
Mm.
And he was kind of a cool. He was really old, but he was a cool guy. And he goes, "Wow, I got to look into this. I like that." So, so she gave him. So I gave her that, but that didn't help with the yeast infection. So I did a little bit of studying. Again, the internet pretty new back then. Google hadn't even been invented. And I found out about probiotics. Never really heard of them. The friendly bacteria for your stomach and what it could do. And I said, here, go and get some probiotics. Go to your local health food store. Go to the refrigerator and get them. And she did. And within a couple of days, she felt better. And again, once again, within about a week, 10 days, she goes, I feel fantastic. And it was really bothering her. I mean, she really
Mm.
had the terrible itching, and it begins to really sting. And men get it too,
Mm.
the yeast infection, but it usually comes out in their head because that's the warmest place in the body. And you see people with this dandruff and it looks like, dandruff from, wherever. It's like terrible. And it's usually yeast that's
Mm.
happening. So you got to get control of that digestive tract. And that is one of the keys to health. So I was lucky with that. I'm always been a big exercise person. So I've always been a runner. So that way I could see people were not exercising enough, and that you really need to get out every day or get a treadmill and get yourself and get out there for 15 20 minutes minimum, and get yourself breathing. Try to do that every single day. You don't need to be a crazy runner like me, but just get some kind of an exercise routine going, and work out the body. And one guy I met was Jack LaLanne. Now he's kind of gone. He was the
Mm.
first guy. Like, he had a show back in the 50s exercising. I mean, people had never seen it, but women would be home and they were like, "Hey, I got my Jack LaLanne every day." I had him on. So I started a podcast. It was called the Radio Show back in the 2000s. Wasn't even podcast. That word had not been invented. So I started getting people on, and I got him a couple times, Jack LaLanne.
Nice.
Great guy. He was in his 90s by then,
Yeah.
but he was always talking exercise, exercise. There's
Mm.
all these 600 muscles in your body. You got to work out every single day. Work out every muscle in your body. So, I took that to heart and made that one of my. I have a
Mm.
7 component health protocol, so I made that one. Daily vigorous exercise. Again, if as long as you're breathing, I mean, you might be in a wheelchair. Get out there and just, move back so you're kind of a little bit, you'll feel better. You just
Mhm.
clear you that circulation. It cleanses the blood. It cleanses your organs. It gets things moving. It is great for the brain. And that's another thing about the probiotics. They call the probiotics and your stomach the second brain.
Mhm.
So there's a big connection between the stomach and the brain, and
Yeah.
that's why you got to keep that. So if you're eating a bunch of garbage food, fast foods, processed fried foods, you're gumming things up down there. So we all eat that way. I'm guilty of it myself from time to time, but I'm kind of a health fanatic. But I but I gotta you gotta keep that. So I take probiotics and prebiotics, that's fermented foods, things like kimchi and sauerkraut. But it's so easy to make fermented foods yourself at
Mhm.
home. There's lots of ways to do it. You can just use water and salt, and
Mhm.
then it'll turn kind of brown. That's all the probiotics in there. And
Mhm.
so fermented foods are extremely important. And then digestive enzymes. I found out about those later. They break down the foods. People always say, you are what you eat. Well, you are what you assimilate.
Mhm.
Because if your digestive tract, your lower intestines are all gummed up, and you from all this plaque that you've food, this mucus that never got properly digested through the days and months and years, kind of becomes like a little museum of what you ate from years ago. You got to clear that out. I'm big into fasting. I'm writing a book on
Mhm.
fasting right now, and
I fast as well.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
such a thing for your brain,
Yeah. I just I
your
just did a
body.
1 day fast yesterday, but I've found that like doing even 8 days. I remember I was talking to my partner at 8 days. I was like, I feel like high just
Yeah,
from
yeah.
fasting.
Yeah, people don't experience it. I have a friend, he can't imagine going a day without food. And I said, try it sometime, and you'll see that you have this mental clarity, and
It's
you're
true.
just kind of getting away from these habits,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
saying, and I tell people to stay hydrated,
Yeah.
stay mineralized, in
Hmm.
particular magnesium for the heart.
Hmm.
You
Hmm.
don't want to have a deficiency. You don't want to have a heart attack. You don't want to have a heart issue, but stay mineralized with at least your electrolyte minerals,
Yeah.
calcium and the magnesium and the potassium and so all these basics for the blood. But stay mineralized. It's a good time. It's a good time. Your body wants to absorb things, but
Yeah.
you don't want to take foods. You
Yeah.
didn't even want to take spirulina or chlorella. You can fast on spirulina and chlorella, but
Oh, okay. That was going to be one of my questions. I was wondering about taking like green alkalizing drinks while you're fasting, if that activates the digestive system too much
Well,
or
any kind of food, you're going to need to digest it.
yeah.
And digestion is a huge, it's uses a lot of energy in the body. And your body kind of stops doing anything and when you eat something and start digesting the food.
Mm,
And so suddenly yeah, you're hungry, but you'll eat that, maybe you feel better and the stomach, but now the body is concentrating on getting
yeah.
those nutrients, getting them into the body. Whereas when you're fasting, wow, now your body can really take a break
Hmm.
and rest and repair and cleanse itself
Yeah.
in ways that normally it's not going to do that.
Yeah.
So anything that your body doesn't have to digest, I have a whole list of them in one of my books called The Cure in the Mirror, Nature's Protocol for Surviving Cancer. And it's just like, I don't have a cure for cancer. I say the greatest physician in the world is go in the mirror, go look in the
Yeah.
mirror. You'll see the greatest physician. Your body can heal itself of any
Yeah.
disease.
Yeah.
You just got to stop putting the wrong things into your body, start putting the right things into your
Hmm.
body. And yeah, they do start just to make it easy on yourself, go through a fast, and then I mean, when you come off the fast, go to a green juice or red juice, some juicing. I juice all the time. I think
Mm,
it's one of the keys to health is juicing
yeah.
because your body's a juicer.
Yeah.
You eat a raw food, you chew it up. There's all sorts of mechanisms going on in the body when you're chewing things and ruminating and things start getting active. But then your body extracts the nutrients and
Yeah.
passes the fiber. That's the way it
Hmm.
should be.
Hmm.
Now, you can go out and get a chicken sandwich. There's no juice there, so it's not that that's really bad for you, but you want that's how I kind of got into the whole raw fruits and vegetables, and just make it part of your routine.
Yeah.
I took it a little step further. Most of my diet is raw fruits and vegetables. I feel great, and when I don't eat raw fruits and vegetables, I kind of notice it right away. I'm just like,
Hmm.
oh, okay,
Well,
and
those are living foods versus dead foods.
yeah.
It's a very simple comparison, right?
Yeah, it is, and it's that energy. There's energy in a raw food, the enzymes.
Yep.
And there's no once you've cooked that food, the enzymes are gone. So an apple, is an example of what is, and an apple pie is an example of
Mm.
what was, or a cooked apple.
Yeah.
You just see what remains of that food. There are some nutrients, there's some taste, but to get the nutrient, I mean, you'd rather have the apple pie, especially if mom made it or grandma, and but where is the energy? The energy is in the apple. It's in the
Yeah.
carrot. It's in the avocado. It's stored. It's really amazing.
Yeah.
It's like the sun has stored this energy inside a fruit
Yeah.
or a vegetable. It's like sitting there waiting.
Yeah.
And you can cut open an orange that might be a month old or 2 months or more, and it's still there. All that energy is still sitting there.
Mm.
So that's very high energy, and that's what you're looking for.
Hmm.
You're looking to bring up that get into the high energy, and people that just live constantly on junk food, especially fried food, fast food, this kind of stuff, you're eating really low energy food. I mean,
Yeah.
you're eating way down in the bottom, and so you become that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the nutrients you're really not absorbing. It's amazing how resilient the human body is. People can live on fast food and survive. People say, "Can you survive on a raw food diet?" You can you survive on a McDonald's diet? The answer is yeah. People do it. Do they, all
They're
these
not
fast food
thriving though, right?
places and stuff. So you can survive, but are you got the mental clarity? Are you cleansing your body?
Yeah.
Are
Are
you
you enjoying
cleansing?
life?
Yeah, I know, and it doesn't give you it reduces your opportunities, your opportunities to know more, to
Mm.
learn more, to know God.
Mm.
That's spiritual, so that's going to be higher.
Yeah.
And I've been a vegetarian now. We were 19, so in October, 46 years.
Okay.
So
Wow.
I was in India traveling, and I just back in the 80s, and I couldn't get food. I could not get, I
Mm.
mean, meat in the meat I'm looking at, there's a really poor country back then. I've been back a few times since then, a few years ago. I mean, it's a totally different country. They really climbed out of being a total third world country to, really a much better country. And and it's still India, believe me. But there's just so many people. And they even when I was there, there was like 800 million. There's over 1.2 billion people now. And at any rate, I couldn't find any meat. You're looking at the meat, chicken, mutton was, that's like lamb. I mean, there was no beef at all. The cow was like
Mm.
supposedly sacred. So a lot of dairy product around, a lot of milk and yogurt. They really got the best yogurt over there. But I couldn't find meat, so I just stopped eating meat, and then I felt better.
Mm.
It wasn't as hard to digest, and so I just stuck with it through the years. And people are just convinced, oh, I need to eat these foods. I was growing up that, and I say, you know what? I mean, I grew up in the West. I grew up in America, so I eat certain foods. I grew up on a meat and potatoes diet,
Yeah.
and really a lot of junk food. Really, when I look back, it wasn't until I got into high school that really I was a runner, and my coach says, don't eat potato chips, don't drink pop. That's going to slow your times down. And I'm like, never made that, never heard anybody say anything like that. It's
Yeah.
like, can we have a class on nutrition at any
Yeah.
point? No. So I never heard anything like that. I'm saying, so what I put into my body will make me run faster or slower,
Mm.
So that's the first connection I ever had in high school. And then I began to stop eating later on, especially got into my 20s, stopped eating, stopped drinking soft drinks, pop,
Yeah.
Coca-Cola, all it just stopped. It's poison. Just stay
Yeah.
away from that stuff. And stop eating all the cookies, Oreo cookies. I always tell people my bones are made out of Oreo cookies and Coca-Cola because that's what I ate growing up. I just ate that crap, you know. And my mom didn't know any better, and she had
Yeah.
to spoil me, and so she always, no candy before dinner, okay. But other than that, I lived so much on junk foods. But like I said, I survived. But I learned about later, wow, what we put into our body is so important. And
Mm.
I'm always trying to learn more and be alert. I'm gonna live as long as God lets me live. but I want to be healthy. I don't
Hmm.
want to spend the last years of my life, going downhill and losing my
Yeah.
energy and losing. It's about, life is about quality of health. And I
Yeah.
always tell people your first, your first, most important thing in life to me, this is my personal opinion, is your relationship with God. And then second is your health. So you take care of
Mm.
your health because you don't want, and then once you're healthy, you don't want to become a detriment. You don't want to become a liability to your family. You don't want to be the person that they need to take care of. You want to be there for them.
Hmm. Hmm.
And so when you're healthy, you can take care of them. Let me come over and I'll help you out today. And
Yeah.
instead, no, I can't get out of the house. I have no energy. I can't even get out of bed. And so you got to be an asset.
Yeah.
And it's like when they say, the plane's going down, always put your oxygen mask on first because then you can help your child or grandma or somebody sitting next to you. But if you're trying to take care of them and you don't make it, well, then you both go down. So take care of yourself, take care of your health, and then you can take care of those around you. So, yeah, I've been really fortunate to be able to stay healthy. And day in and day out, I literally feel great. I feel a lot of mental clarity, always learning new things. Like it's that sort of, I'm kind of addicted, I think, to learning,
Yeah.
and I'm telling you, we are at a point in history where you can do that now better than ever before.
Oh, it's
I,
wild. Yeah.
yeah, the stuff the internet gives you. I mean, the websites, obviously, there's, I don't know, maybe a billion websites. And what YouTube does, I mean, it gets better and better. You want to know the history of of Europe and what's going on for the last 2,000 years. There you go. I mean, there's somebody that's made some video about it, and
Oh
they're really
yeah.
interesting.
And there's
So,
and there's tools like I don't know if you've tried like Notebook LM or just learning through AI, like especially Claude. I think you can learn anything
yeah,
with resources and yeah, it's we're in a but I just want to circle back because I mean I think it's interesting you started with selling bottled well water, got to get
yeah,
into health because that became
yeah.
kind of a controversial area, but I can see that you are a wellspring of knowledge yourself and your passion is very palpable, Bob. So I really
Mhm.
appreciate your everything you're sharing. There's so much gold wisdom in here. But I think one of the things you said is so important is having your relationship with your creator, with God, however we connect
Yeah,
with that source of our being as the most important fundamental part of our relationship. Because I think without that, you can go do all the health learning, you can go and do all the things, but without our a connection to our our to God, I think that a lot of those things they fall short. There's a dryness of spirit that comes. So I appreciate you bringing that into the conversation because I feel like so much of the scientific lens, the health lens, a lot of it is like self-will driven rather than
yeah,
alignment to a higher being. Like you've pointed out, the healer is in the mirror because our body is infinitely more intelligent in its nature than our personal consciousness. Like I don't know how all these cells replicated and grew from a cell from a
yeah,
embryo and a seed in an egg and how my body heals itself, how it digests. We don't even really fully comprehend how we
yeah.
digest
No,
food,
I know.
right? It's
We
pretty
know this
it's
much.
miraculous.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is. It's a miracle. One of my books is The Miraculous Properties of Ionized Water. We talk about water. And
Mm.
it's really important to know which water to drink. So once again, I started out, with well water. So that's really good
Yep.
water in
Yep.
Michigan.
My
Now,
parents are on
not
a well,
everywhere.
deep well.
You go down to Florida, that used to be a
Yeah.
marsh,
Swamp.
and I've been
Swamps.
down
Yeah.
there, and you better have some really good filters. I always say filter your water no matter what.
Yeah.
But alkaline ionized water, which you buy a water ionizer and have that made, just takes water to a way up another level, now.
Is
And what's cool about it, what's so amazing, it took me a while to figure it out back in the 90s because nobody could explain it really. They just said, oh, you got a bunch of electrons in there. Like, okay. And you've got all these concentrated electrons and it's more alkaline. And that's as far, and it's kind of detoxifying. So they kind of knew some talking points that somebody had given them, but they didn't know what was going on. And the cool thing about alkaline ionized water, again, my best-selling book. So people have always had this. I published that 20 years ago, and it's in its third edition. But people that you get to see people are interested in water and what water to drink and which water not to drink. So I always tell people stay away from purified water. That's reverse osmosis or distilled water. A lot of people want that pure. They like it pure. If you're going to drink purified water, I've got some videos on my YouTube channel. I say put some minerals back in the water
Yeah.
so it's not stealing minerals from your
Yeah.
body. And
Yeah.
it's not that hard to do. I have a type of calcium you can put in there. You can put magnesium in there. You could put I sell an electrolyte blend.
Okay.
You could put that a little bit of that at the shake it up. You could
Okay.
actually put a hydrogen stick in there and shake it up. I don't have one here, right here, but you're taking the water to the next level. But it's better. It's better than nothing. It's better than drinking purified water because the shape and size of the water molecule clusters. There used to be a product called Penta water, and it's kind of gone away now. But Penta water, they called it that because that water had a five-sided cluster structure to it. So it's
Okay.
five Penta. Everything in nature that you're going to want to put into your body has a hexagonal structure, six-sided. That's very
Okay.
important. You go look. There's years ago. I think I saw it. Might even seen it on Netflix, but it was on mathematics, and it was a whole series talk about learning things. We got a buddy of mine. He's like gotten into calculus, and he's doing calculus now. I mean, he always did it. He always kind of knew it before, but now he gets on these videos. He just sits there and does all these problems. He's not gonna use it. He just loves this calculus. And well, this is on mathematics, and the first show was about the hexagon. So you look at anything in nature, it always comes down to the hexagon because
Mm.
that's the most efficient shape in nature. That's the most least amount of energy. You look at snake skin, hexagonal. You look at bugs' eyes, especially
Mm.
with the multiple eyes, hexagonal. You look at crystalline structures, they're hexagonal.
Mm.
And so there's a lot of evidence out there. Even when crystals kind of form, they're always in the hexagon.
Yeah.
And there's a guy that I interviewed years ago. I didn't have a podcast, but I put him on my YouTube. And it's called the guy Gerald Pollack. He's a PhD, and he wrote a book called The Fourth Phase of Water. It's
Mm.
kind of
I've heard of
not the
that.
friendliest book. I mean, it's not bad for the average person, but it
Yeah.
shows you that this ionized water, hexagonal water, is found everywhere in nature, which I always
Mm.
suspected. I just had that hunch,
Yeah.
and he confirmed it scientifically. But what you got, and you see it in glacier runoff. That's a big place. You see it at the ocean where the waves hit.
Yeah.
When it's being hit, or when the water's coming down from
Yeah.
mountains and hitting in rocks and going down, it's creating these hexagonal
Mm.
structures in this ionized water. But it doesn't last, because it's
Mm-mm.
always meeting something else in nature. But here you got a water ionizer, and you've got this thing that really can create this structure right in front of you, right in your house, right?
Yeah.
Hook it up to filters the water, and then you ionize the water. But it's identical. What's amazing about it, it's identical to raw fruits and vegetables, and it has all the attributes and characteristics of raw fruits and
Mm.
vegetables. It is a powerful antioxidant. It's full of hydrogen. It's
Mm.
full of electrons. It has a negative charge. That's really important. We were talking earlier. Raw fruits and vegetables have that negative charge,
Mm.
ORP, oxidation reduction potential. So the potential or the ability to reduce the oxidation of whatever it comes in contact with, it should be
Yeah.
your
Yeah.
your body. And that's why we're always taking antioxidants. We don't want
Yeah.
to oxidize. When you cook a food, you raise the ORP
Mm.
to the positive. So now it's not an antioxidant, it's actually an oxidant, and then you consume it, and then that oxidizes your body.
Mm.
So whereas you take a juice, you make a juice, and you drink that down, you're reducing the oxidation of your body, and that's how you stay healthy. That's one of the key, components of staying healthy. One
Yeah.
of the key ways to do it is take substances with a negative or a low ORP, oxidation
Okay.
reduction potential. So So you find that, so then you'll see ionized water, raw fruits and vegetables are alkaline, ionized water is alkaline, and raw fruits and vegetables are detoxifying because they have that hexagonal shape to them. That's been proven. And they all do it. They all have it because that's nature. That's why God grew things. God goes loves the hexagon. And so you take that, and so what it does is it hydrates your body's cells extremely well, and
Mm,
then and the tissue, and so it starts pushing out all the things that don't belong there, which we refer to as toxins,
mm,
and so it's very detoxifying. And we always the big word detox, detox. Yeah, you got to get a toxin is very simply is something that does not perform a function in the body, and
mm,
it's gotten in, and so now you've got to detox. You got to get it out of there. And there's some really serious toxins, heavy metals, herbicides, pesticides, and then some are very mild, but they're always interfering with the cells and intercellular communication.
mm.
You talked earlier about we don't even know what's going on. Yeah, we think we know.
Yeah.
A friend of mine graduated from college around 1980 in biology and biochemistry, and at the time they said, okay, we know everything there is to know about the human cell. That was the yeah. We know there's the mitochondria, and we know there's this part, and this part, this part, and now they know, okay, we have we don't have a clue what's really going on, but we have learned so much more
Yeah.
about what's going on in there, how proteins are made, and
Yeah.
you see the mitochondria, and we know that ATP, endothene triphosphate, gives us energy and what we need to do to create that in our
Mm,
bodies, and so. Yeah, they thought they knew it all, and now here we are, and they're saying finally have admitted, yeah, we know a lot more, and we got a lot
yeah.
more to go because this is really so you're interfering with the cell, and you're interfering with and its incredible mechanisms,
Mm,
and then you're interfering with intercellular communication throughout the body. There's things in the way. They're called toxins. You don't want to bring a bunch of people into your office and have them hanging around and talking to people, and then having sandwiches and coffee. You say, hey, we got work to do here.
yeah.
So they're the toxins. So you got to
Yeah.
get rid of those guys, gals, get them out of there, get the bad stuff out, and just have your body function as the way it's supposed to. And so, ionized water gives you all the same qualities as raw fruits and vegetables. Powerful antioxidant, very alkaline, very hydrating because of the size and shape of the water cluster, and very detoxifying. You're pushing out all those things that don't belong in the body and in the cells. And so, I mean, as people they start drinking ionized water. Some people, I didn't have that bad of a reaction to it or anything, but a lot of people go, wow, I got headaches.
It's like a
And
Herxheimer
detox,
reaction from the
yeah,
detox.
your detox is headaches, rash, fatigue.
Yeah.
Those are the main, something's
'Cause the
going on. When
toxins are
sometimes
re-entering
your
the
body's
blood
going,
supply,
what's
right?
going on here? What's all this healthy stuff? Or, and a lot of people do craving ionized water, like they
Mm,
start drinking it, and they go, what? This is so addicting. I said, well, it's a good addiction because there's,
mm,
unhealthy addictions, good addictions. And I said, it's really addicting, yeah, because your body is crying out for
mm.
water. There's a
Yeah.
guy who wrote a book, your body's many cries for water, and that was McCauley down in an Iranian guy. Back, he wrote that back. I had him on my show a few times.
Oh yeah, did you?
Um,
Okay. I
yeah,
have that book. Yeah.
yeah, and he wrote a few different books. But he was he was in Iran during the revolution. They threw all the doctors into prison, and so he got into prison. What he found was, people are really sick. They've got no medical attention. He started giving them water, and they started feeling great.
Wow.
And like, okay, my back doesn't hurt and my knees are feeling better.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
he realized the importance of water. So
Yeah.
anyway, he finally got out. I forget what, I think he was living somewhere in the U.S. Um, and um, and so he just wrote that book, and it
Mm.
is an absolutely a fantastic book, very down to earth. And yeah, I had him on a couple times, and he was what a great guy and great resource. But all about water. So health to me starts with water. I get up in the morning. and I drink a big tall glass of water.
Yeah.
It's the first thing I do. A lot of people, they reach for a glass of soda, they get themselves a Coke or a Diet 7 Up or whatever they, and
Really? First thing in the morning? Wow.
yeah,
I don't drink
yeah,
pop myself. I mean, I
yeah,
may have like, I mean, we like kombucha because it's
yeah,
like a naturally fermented and it's got probiotics. And to me, that's
yeah,
like a natural pop. I mean, I might have a root beer once in a blue moon, but
right,
it's usually a natural
right.
one
Yeah,
if we
well,
do.
they go for the coffee,
Yeah,
instead,
coffee.
but
That's
just
been a challenge
start.
for my partner and I, coffee, because it's like
Yeah,
there is that that, and we know it's not great for us. We know we feel better when it's not, but it's like a compulsion in our society. And so many of the things, like you'd mentioned, the foods that people are exposed to they have this addictive nature to it. So wouldn't it be wonderful to be addicted to ionized water
yeah,
instead of,
yeah, yeah,
yeah,
exactly. And I kind of am. I just love
yeah.
drinking this stuff, and I can
So
tell when I don't have it. When I go travel,
can we talk a little bit about and I think this ties into your travels and how you access ionized water in the road. You mentioned like you carry a filter for your water, so that's got me thinking we don't have that, so I'm going to implement that into our daily life.
yeah.
What's the best way of ionizing water? Does adding chlorella and spirulina ionize water? Or is it
No, it
alkali?
won't.
It
But
alkalizes water.
well, no, I mean, it's alkaline for the body. And once
Okay.
again, I always say HAD, hydrate your body, alkalize your body, detoxify your body,
Okay.
had. And but yeah, so what I do. I travel a lot. I spent half my life in hotel rooms. But I go out and when I go somewhere now, I go out and get some spring water, and I usually get a couple gallons, so I lug it, back to the hotel, and then I'm done with it.
Hmm.
I don't really want the water, right at my sink, but they've got some ways now, of these small little hydrogen water ionizers. We can get
Yeah.
into that
See, I've
later.
seen that. Yeah.
Yeah, they're a little bit more convenient. But what I do for now is I go out and get the spring water because at least it's clean, it's filtered.
Yeah. We use
I
spring
stay
water. We travel and get all our water spring
Yeah,
water. Yeah.
and then what I do is I get one of these what they call hydrogen sticks, and I sell them, and they're pretty inexpensive. But once again, another technology I've been using for 20 years, but they
Okay.
just have they've come light years from what they
Okay.
get these little beads in them,
Okay.
and they can give you a negative charge, negative ORP. Some of the
Okay.
beads can give you hydrogen.
Mm.
Some of the beads can alkalize the water. So you put this stick in there, and then you shake it up, and
Oh,
you
okay.
shake it, and you look at the water. You'll see there's bubbles in there.
Mm.
Another thing you can do is bring one of these. That's just I don't sell these, but they're probably going to get myself and start selling them. But that produces hydrogen in the water.
Mm.
And when I got into ionized water, we didn't even know about hydrogen. I mean,
Mm.
nobody really knew. I think scientifically, people thought there was hydrogen in the water. There's a guy I work with in Taiwan, and he made all my water ionizers. Yishan's the name of the company. Um, but this guy was kind of like he knew he was an inventor and just this brilliant guy, and he knew there was hydrogen in there into that water, and he knew how to develop it, and so so I take that hydrogen stick and I shake it up in like a 1 liter bottle,
Mm.
and alkalize the water, you give it that negative charge, and it's like a really mild, I call it a poor man's water ionizer. So, I sell this filter, by the way. You stick it in to you put a filter in your water line, and then you're going to do a carbon. Let's say you're at home, you can't afford a water ionizer. You get a carbon filter, and that takes out all the chlorine from the water. It'll take out the lead if you got lead in the water. Usually there's not in there, but you never know. I mean, it depends on where you are. You get an
Yeah.
old house, they
Yeah.
use the lead fittings. They did the lead
Yeah.
solder.
Yeah.
And like here in Lansing, Michigan, they went through and they knew that they had soldered all the old water main pipes with lead, and they that this needed to get out of here.
Mhm.
Everybody's famous with Flint,
Yeah.
Michigan, with the lead in the water. This is like, I mean, who came up with Detroit, city of Detroit has amazing water, Michigan itself, we sit on this aquifer where you go down 200 feet and you just get this amazing, great filtered water because of the glaciers that came through
Mm,
and pushed all this gravel. So you go down, you've got this layer of clay that takes out all sorts of really bad stuff, right, out of the water. Then you've got the gravel, and now you got further filtration, and then it keeps going down and down, and now you get down to the sandstone aquifer. It's called the Pennsylvania Formation, and it's like a sponge. So you're
mm,
just bringing up this amazing water here in Michigan. Well, for whatever reason, somebody said it was EPA, and I think state of Michigan said, "Hey, let's get our water from, the Flint River." Like, what were you thinking? And it's just full of lead. And honestly, all you had to
wow.
do was get a carbon filter to filter out the lead.
Mm,
But the lead levels, I looked at them at one time. No, nobody, really ever assumed responsibility for doing
mm,
this,
mm.
I mean, for this decision, but it was the EPA in the state of Michigan.
Yeah.
We've got like a little mini EPA here, DEQ, they call it, Department of Environmental Quality, and they got together and made this decision and really contaminated the water by changing a water source without checking it. I mean, how it's just so fundamental. But going back, so get yourself the sticks, put them in the water, and
Okay.
now you're going to have, like what I was saying before. You've got a carbon filter and then this other filter that I sell that's got all these layers of beads in it. So it's like a poor man's water ionizer that's going to make it more negatively charged, very alkaline,
Hmm.
very hydrating, once again, because every sets of beads do something different to the water. There's like 8 different types of beads in there. They
Hmm.
call ceramic beads
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
where they get the material they're using exactly, and then what temperature that they're making these beads at makes all the difference on how they react with water or whatever substance you're putting through it. Um, but that's kind of a good thing to do in your house. But when you're traveling, take that hydrogen stick, put it in the water. You could do a gallon at a time. You could put 2 or 3 of those sticks in there. They're pretty inexpensive. And you get yourself a 1 liter bottle, put one stick in there, take it out while you're out for the day and moving around and hiking or
Okay.
whatever. But you're going to have improved water. And like it's a very mild form of alkaline ionized water. And then the spring water is the best you're going to get. Mineral water, it's kind of hard to find because if you there's not a lot of mineral water on the market because you've got to have a certain level of minerals in the water
Mm,
to be able to call it mineral water or mineralized water. Because honestly, you really want to get water from a deep water source like a
mm.
well rather
Okay.
than something that comes to the surface
Okay.
because it can get all these contaminants as it comes
Oh,
out of
interesting.
the ground. For a while, there were people running around up here, and they were going to certain places in Michigan, and where there were springs, and they would fill up all their water with the spring water and everything. And it's okay. It's not anything wrong with it, but it's nothing you really can't accomplish if you have decent water,
Yeah.
especially with a water filter. But the municipalities they put fluoride in the water. This is a
Hmm.
big mistake. They removed it in, I'm going to say, I think Utah. I mean, like
Okay.
the governor didn't want to sign it, but he was kind of in a corner, and so he signed this bill to
Yeah.
get rid of fluoride. I mean, that's like why are you putting fluoride in the water? Well, it's for your
Yeah.
teeth. It's bogus.
Yeah.
So
We're
I
aware. And it's like
yeah
industrially manufactured, right? Like a byproduct of
yeah
a toxic. That's what I've seen, anyways. I mean, it's crazy because people, I mean, I've heard family members say, yeah, well, there's fluoride in the water to protect your teeth. Like that, these things are still kind of memes in our collective psyche, Bob.
yeah
I mean, we were talking about the show, like a lot of us have this sense that we're part of this great awakening, and clearly there's this new paradigm of health coming. Like, wouldn't it be wonderful if we actually had a well-being economy, if we actually had a real health system that rewarded health professionals for keeping the population healthy, not rewarding
yeah
people for being sick because that is what creates
right
profit. I mean, it's a
yep
total inversion of what we've seen playing out, but a lot of us intuitively feel it. you've clearly been a pioneer in this and around the forefront of a lot of these emergent things. What is your higher vision for our world with all this knowledge that you've had? What would you like to see as the yeah, as the evolution of our society continues?
Well, I think medical school is medical school, and they teach them what they want to know. Like, I'll give you a great example. I've said to medical doctors before, I wrote it in my book, The Cure in the Mirror. And I met these guys at John Hopkins, which is the big university in Baltimore. I met them in the hotel. We happen to both be staying there. And I just mentioned, I said, they're from, Brooklyn. Okay, these two doctors, medical doctors, and they're way up in their field, right? They do cancer research and all this kind of stuff. And so I said, chronic disease doesn't exist in the wild. And they just looked at me and they said, no, what are you talking about? I said, no one's ever shot a deer or any other animal and brought it back and found it full of cancer, arthritis, fibromyalgia, high blood pressure, diabetes. That doesn't exist in the wild. I say infectious disease is very prevalent in the wild. You see, deer get viruses from time to time. We had an outbreak here of deer viruses 5 or 6 years ago. You'd see them dead in the forest, but that's an infectious disease. Whereas chronic disease, we're the only species on Earth that gets chronic disease other than the animals we
Mm,
domesticate.
mm,
And then we put them on a cooked food, puppy chow, cat chow diet, and or we feed them from the table, and the food eat a little Fifi from the table, and
mm,
Fifi gets just the same diseases we get, which is all these chronic diseases. So the animals that we domesticate, including farm animals, many of them, and then ourselves. And so these two medical doctors just looked at me like, okay, well, they just never, it's so far out in nature, they never found them. Now, again, I'll say it again. I used to live in New York. These are two guys from Brooklyn. They don't do a lot of hunting in Brooklyn, maybe from each other, but they
yeah,
don't hunt. They don't know nature. They
yeah,
don't know the wild,
yeah,
and so they just refuse to accept it.
mm,
But I've noticed lately that even, especially with all the, we talked earlier, the access, you go to Twitter or X, right? You go to X and you start looking, and there's all these people with these stories. Oh, this is good for your joints. This food, this fermented food is good for this. You can take these foods, and they're good for your brain. And and doctors are seeing this as well as anyone else. So I kind of I see these guys. By the way, they were kind of like in their 70s. So they had been trained their entire
yeah,
life to
yeah,
think this way. And that's
yeah,
what medical school does. It teaches
yeah,
you to just think in this way.
yeah,
And of course, I'm coming from the outside. I'm not
yeah,
medically trained. I'm an ND, naturopathic doctor.
yeah,
So
yeah.
a
That's the
natural
original
doctor.
doctor, right? There was a
Yeah, yeah, a real
divergence,
doctor.
right? Gene and germ therapy led to the splitting of medical paradigms, right? So
Right.
naturopathy is a much more holistic,
Yeah.
integral view of the whole organism. And yeah, I mean, and it's funny too because we're kind of seeing full circle now with all of the modern research of like epigenetics, questioning, our basically how our consciousness interacts. Bruce Lipton basically, blowing apart the whole paradigm of the cell structure. We're
Yep.
seeing a lot of that gene and germ therapy just fade away. Like it was never the truth, but it served a multi-billion, if not trillion-dollar industry to that
Yep.
that has made a lot of profit off of a lot of people being unwell. So it's a big it's a big beast
Yep.
to encounter, right?
Right.
So what do you see as the next iteration? And I'm just mindful we have about 5 minutes left, Bob. So
Okay.
I'd love to hear like where you see us heading, and also how can people connect with you?
Well, first of all, I think we're going in the direction of health. And little by little, and people are realizing I don't want to go to the doctor. I said people would
Yeah.
go back to water. I said, I get up, I'd rather go to the bathroom 1,000 times than to have to go to the doctor's office one time. And because you're really at their mercy,
Yeah.
and they're going to just give you a bunch of pills,
Yeah.
pharmaceuticals,
That's
and
what they
those
know.
are petroleum based for the most part, and they're
Crazy.
trying to control the mechanisms of the body,
Hmm.
and they're trying to control your sugar level,
Hmm.
your high blood pressure level, your enzyme level coming out of your liver, all this kind of stuff. And so it's all artificial. So
Hmm.
we're going to learn how to really get past all that. And I think it's the younger people that are
Yeah.
kind of growing up with this. I don't know my generations. I don't know if it's Gen Z or whatever it is, but it's the younger people that are kind of they're kind of learning in a different way.
Yeah.
So I have hope for that,
Yeah.
number one. And then people got to get into foods like chlorella and spirulina.
Yeah.
That's your nutritional foundation. If you're
Mm.
taking a handful a day of those tablets, they're 60% protein. They've got the
Yeah.
broadest array
Protein
of
queen, right?
nutrients of any foods.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my protein source right there.
Yeah.
They've got they're nutritionally diversified, the
Hmm.
broadest array of nutrients.
Yeah.
Chlorella is 20% fiber. It's a unique dietary fiber that
Okay. I
grabs
didn't know
onto
that
heavy
about
metals
chlorella.
and pulls them out. So
Oh,
that's
okay.
my go-to. And that's the
Interesting.
easiest thing. So,
Yeah.
and even if you're on a junk food diet, you're on a
Yeah.
fast food diet, what you take some of that,
Yeah.
now you're getting your nutritional foundation. So that's
Yeah.
where I start with those two foods,
And
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 I've got
don't,
them. Yeah,
sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you. I every time because I take my spirulina usually is what I take. I haven't I sometimes take chlorella. I'm going to take it more now that I'm learning some of these things. But when
yeah,
I mix that, and it's just like you're drinking pure oxygen. And I know it's
yeah.
like crazy high in B vitamins too, right? Like that's really
Oh
good for
yeah,
your clarity, your cognition.
absolutely.
Yeah, so it's
Yeah, you get
amazing.
you got to get the B vitamin, especially if you're vegetarian or vegan. I'm pretty much a vegan. And so they're worried about B12. Well, I do one thing I do encounter doctors when I go down and get my blood work done because I love looking at it because everything's like always like perfect, but I always make them do vitamin B12, B6,
Yeah.
and once again, they're like, yeah, your B level, your B12 is off the charts. What are you doing? I said, I'm eating spirulina and chlorella, and they don't even know what it is. But I think that with with a handful of those a day, a small handful.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I'm my big one. My website's drbobmccauley.com,
Okay.
McCauley, Dr. Bob McCauley. And then I'm big on YouTube. That's my biggest
Wonderful.
outreach to people. I've done hundreds of videos.
Okay.
I'm working on it constantly. I'm on
Well, we'll connect our
Instagram.
channels so we can share your interview there too.
Yeah.
And you got
Yes,
an
I'll
Instagram too?
send those over to you. And I'm big on Instagram now. I never was before, but that is the go-to for younger
Okay.
people. And
Yeah.
that's who I'm trying to reach because I
Yeah.
mean older people too. I'm trying to get the older people like, hey, you don't need to be going to the doctor, all the
Mm,
time. I mean,
yeah.
you can do, and this is what goes back to, the people coming in my store back in the 90s and the 2000s. They're very, very skeptical of the
Yeah.
medical world, these people.
Yeah.
Honestly, a lot of black people came in
Yeah.
and they come into this day very
Yeah.
skeptical. They didn't
Yeah.
like these doctors, they didn't trust them.
Yeah.
So, and they were kind of like, you know what, I'm just going to eat a big glass of, apple juice. I'm going to take apples and, yeah, all these guys. We had one of the largest raw food groups here for 18 years in Michigan. This one woman organized it. We had one of the best in the whole country. And people would bring in these dishes of raw food, that they'd made, like raw spaghetti. You do that with this spiralizer and
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
can with,
Yeah. Yeah.
and,
Yeah.
and you make this thing and you don't know what this is raw. This has not been cooked. You can't
Right.
believe the red
Yeah. That's
sauce.
great. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm just trying to reach out to people. My
Appreciate
books are
that.
all on Amazon.
Okay.
A lot of them are on Audible, so you can
Okay.
listen to them because that's the
Okay.
way people are working and all that. They
Yeah.
can listen to a book, and I'm just in YouTube. You get Dr. Bob McCauley, you'll find it. Watershed 11 is another tag for it. But
Okay.
I've got hundreds and hundreds of videos on everything you can think of, and I just always trying to reach out to people. I have a newsletter. If you go to my website, drbobmccauley.com, you can sign up for my newsletter. And I'm just, again, these little tips on the history of how I got into this, how I got into that. That's what I'm
Okay.
doing recently.
All
But
right.
I'm just going to keep giving you the tips of ways you can take simple things like chlorella and spirulina, ionized water, probiotics, stay mineralized. Minerals are the keys to start the engine of our health.
Yeah.
You really got, and where there's 26 basic minerals that we need,
Yeah.
and some of them you got to supplement.
Hmm.
I'm big into supplementation. I'm like call myself Mr. Supplement, because you can't get all these nutrients. So much of it has been farmed out of the soil, and you don't see that nutrient. Whereas you take spirulina and chlorella, we grow them in controlled environments. We don't take
Mm,
them out of a river or a lake,
mm.
and these are highly, I don't want to say processed foods, but we know what we're doing with this chlorella.
Yeah.
You got to crack the cell and get it the nutrients. So we've got these incredible foods. They're all there for you, where you
Yeah.
can take your health definitely up to the next
You got to
level.
take them though.
Yeah, and get
You got,
that mind going.
yeah.
This is the
Yeah.
control center. And
Hmm.
if you're full of toxins, this is where all these dementia and
Yeah,
Alzheimer's,
for sure. For
it
sure.
comes from. I sell a type of magnesium, trade name is Magteam, but magnesium L-threonate. That's the only type of magnesium crosses the brain-blood barrier.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
I don't really have the product, but I take like 7 different types of magnesium and I put them together,
Okay.
and I take that every single day. And then I take a bunch of amino acids, especially for the brain. And so you're constantly threonine is a really good one. And then you get magnesium threonate or magtine, but it's feeding the brain. You've got to feed that brain
Mm,
constantly.
mm,
And they've done a lot of studies on that. That's another thing. These scientific studies, I mean, I've always said, live by the study, die by the study. But they've really gotten sophisticated at studying nutrients and
mm.
the human body and the reaction toward it. So it's all there. You have just got to go out and try to find it. You got to
Yeah.
go out and it's not that hard to find these days.
Yeah. Yeah.
And get some, I haven't eaten anything. I fast until noon every day. So
Okay.
every day I've got this 15 to 18-hour fast going every day.
Okay.
And now I'm mineralizing my body. I'm putting things that are not foods into the body, like spirulina. That'll come after noon, 1 o'clock, and then I'll start eating, and that my body's got to digest things.
Mm,
So that's how I eat, and then usually, many meals, many diseases. So
mm.
I keep it to a minimum. Lunch, dinner, I have a salad. I'm boring, but I have a nice big salad. It's actually so delicious.
Yeah, for sure. Salads are
And
great.
now it's the summer, so I can go out and just grab
Nice.
my dinner, and it's raw fruits and vegetables, and I bring it in, make a salad, and
That's the
it's all
living
there.
source food right there,
Yeah,
Bob.
you got that. And if
It
you
is,
I
and
used to
you're right.
live,
It is all right here, right?
yeah, California, it's not what it once was, but man, they've got the fruits and vegetables out there. Every time I go out there, you go into the supermarket, you're like, wow. I mean, they really
Yeah.
got brought right because it's, the right growing climate. And so it's there for you. And you can start a garden. You can start an indoor garden. You can sprout. Sprouting is so cheap,
Yeah.
inexpensive for pennies. And I do that during the winter. So
Okay.
you can sprout, I have a little combination of sprouts, red clover and alfalfa
Hey,
and
Bob, listen, you're such a wellspring of information. We can go on and on. I do have to get
oh
off the
yeah,
call
yeah.
now. I really
Hey,
appreciate you coming on. Thanks for
yeah,
sharing all
thanks
of
for
your
having me.
knowledge and wisdom. It's been,
Yeah,
yeah, I mean, I can see your passion. So thank you, really for the decades of service to all of us and gathering all this knowledge. I encourage all of our listeners to follow you and also you're welcome into our school community. I'd love to see you interacting with some other of our podcast guests and members from our school community. So
yeah,
you'll receive an invitation there. And I'd love to just continue the conversation with you.
yeah,
Is there
yeah.
anything else you'd like to share? Maybe some last words of wisdom? If you had a special microphone, you could talk to the whole world. What would you say?
Well, I try to keep it simple. My books are written for the average person. They're not scientific, like I got to get into the details. And there's been some famous people that did that. They don't want that. I go to the couch potatoes, we call them, and the average person who doesn't want to, figure out what to put in their body. So it's very simply written. You can go to Amazon.com, look up Bob McCauley ND and see all my books. Go to the YouTube and see them, and then get on my email list and get on Instagram and connect with me. I'm trying to answer as many emails as I can and steer you in the right direction. I
Okay.
mean, they don't take the time. Like, I got this problem and I've had it for a long time. What do I do? And I say, here's what I would do as if I was in your position. And
Mm,
it's being on podcasts like yours. That this is the era of podcasts,
yeah.
because people they want to know, they want to learn, they want to see what's going on.
Yeah.
And so it's the podcast world that is really taken off. And it used to be blogging a lot more, and you still see things all over
Mm,
the place. Some of them I don't get on Reddit, I don't get on that, but I'll do anything to get Instagram was like a mystery to me a year ago, and now I can see that's where a lot of young people are in particular. But I'm just telling you, that is a really great resource. X, same thing.
that's great.
Um, but I just try to reach out to people, and it's guys like you having guys like me on
Yeah.
and spreading the word. And if somebody else is out there, they say want to book me on their podcast. My time is that's God gave me this vocation
Mm,
for whatever reason. I'd love to come on your podcast and tell the world about great health and what they can do, and
that's
reach
great,
different
Bob.
people and reach into different things. And so, and get
Well, I
these
appreciate
young
your
kids.
service. Yeah.
Yeah, get
Yeah, the
these
youth
young
is
kids.
where I agree. The youth is
Yeah.
where it's all at. I do have to run, so I'm going to
Okay.
invite our daughter
Great
Luciana to
having,
say great
great
having
being
you
on the
too.
podcast. Great.
Yeah.
Thank you again for having me. And we'll do it
Blessings to
again
you and your
sometime.
guests. Yeah, sounds great,
Okay.
Bob. Yeah, I look forward to continuing. And like I said, you're welcome to the community. So I'm just going to invite my daughter Luciana to come and say thanks for watching, everyone, and yeah, blessings to our listeners. And yeah, reach out if you have any questions, and check us out in our community too, where a lot of our podcast guests are. Okay, thanks, and have a
Okay.
wonderful day, Bob. Blessings.
You have a great one. God
You
bless.
too.
Take
Thanks for watching. You say ciao ciao.
Bye.
I love you so much.